Good morning. Welcome to InfoSyntax. Today we will understand what is the difference between NoSQL and SQL database. Let's see these differences between our SQL or our DBMS versus NoSQL. SQL supports structured data and NoSQL is supported semi-structured. What it means this? If you think about the SQL database, you have the table like some specific columns. In this screen, I draw the table for the employee, and employee have some data like ID, name, department ID. Okay, in this table we have 3 columns: ID, name, and department ID. Whenever I have inserted data into this table, only I have to insert these 3 type of column on row basis. Now come to this semi-structured data. There is no specific structure for document, so data will be stored in key pair value like ID, and it has some value, and name, and it has also some value. The first time user 1 came to NoSQL database and he entered the employee ID and name into the document. The next, another user came to NoSQL and he opened that collection. He entered the employee document. He entered the data, ID of the employee, suppose some value are there, name of the employee, and it has also some value. Then he also entered the address of that employee, and he has entered in that same collection whatever the previous user entered the data, ID and name. In that collection only he entered another new document, but he has entered additional one column, that is address. At that time he will not get any error and the data is inserted in employee collection. That's why you are telling NoSQL database support semi-structured. The next point is a relation, and NoSQL support object-oriented. What is a relation? Just you have discussed the employee. Employee has the ID for department, and we have another table like department. Employee's record has department ID, and it refers to department tables. The primary key is ID. So this relation is present inside SQL database, but this will not contain in NoSQL. It support object oriented. Now data will be consistent in SQL database, but other hand the data are eventually consistent. If you think about NoSQL is support horizontally cluster. That means drawing this one. So data are replicated with each other and it presents in different machine. And someone is changed data in one node or some data on one machine. That time the new data should be replicated with the other 2 systems. But it will take some time. That's why we are telling eventually consist. Next point is regret, and NoSQL is flexible. We will discuss on this point on next slide. Next point is mature, and NoSQL is emerging. SQL is stable, but NoSQL is scalable. SQL maintenance cost is very high, but NoSQL maintenance cost is very low. This point we will discuss on next slide. Scaling. RDBMS support vertical scaling. The architecture design run well on single machine. To handle large volume of operation is to upgrade the machine with faster processor or more memory. That means whenever you are talking about scaling in RDBMS side, the database will be scaled like this. User will request like this. When you are upgrading the database, so you need to upgrade your machine like such as processor or your RAM size. If you want to perform your database very good, so that time you need to improve your machine's processor or RAM size. But other hand, NoSQL is support horizontal scaling. NoSQL database are intended to run on clusters of comparatively low specification server. To handle more data, add more server to cluster. Relatively cheaper approach to handle increases. If we talk about this horizontal scaling, so database will run on the cluster machine. So if you see, the database is clustered into 3 machines and each are handle different type of request. So here easy to maintain more number of requests and also very less cost of this server. Next is data model. RDBMS support regret data model, but NoSQL support no schema or no data model. The first point is RDBMS required data in structured format. A change managed is very big issue in SQL with strong dependency on primary and foreign key concept. Just before we have discussed the previous slide, all these data in structured format and they have relational set of data like employee and department. If you are going to change any description of these data, so it will be very big headache actually, because it will change everything of your relation. But other hand, NoSQL database is schema-less, so that data can inserted into database with easy even without any predefined schema. The format or data model could be changes anytime without application disturbance. So here data is inserted in document format and document is not following the schema base. So any type of data or any structure of data you can insert it in document. Maintenance. RDBMS maintenance cost is very high because maintaining RDBMS system is expensive and require trained person for database management. Just before we discussed on scaling, if you upgrade the database, so that time you are going to use fast processor or memory. So that time it's very high cost as compared to the lower version of server. And also the data are highly relational. So without any trained person cannot manage the database, or without knowledge nobody can change data inside the SQL. So if you hire the trained person, so it is also indirectly impact your cost. On other hand, low maintenance. NoSQL database required minimal management and it support many features which make the needs for administration and tuning requirement becomes less because it follow the simpler data model. Now next slide we will discuss about model for database. The RDBMS support ACID model, NoSQL support base model. Now come to this first one. The A stands for atomicity. If any one element of transaction fail, then the entire transaction fail. What does this mean? We will understand on this example. I am transferring 1000 rupees from my account to my friend's account. Let's understand how it will be processed. In transaction 1, the 1000 rupees will be deducted from my account. Let this account name is A1 and the second one is A2. The transaction 1, what will happen? Balance amount of account A1 minus 1000 rupees. Okay, and the transaction 2, what will do? Here it will credit the same amount account A2. Okay, these two transactions are there. In such a case, it will process the first transaction, then it come to the second line, and this time it has some error actually. Suppose I have entered the account number wrong or IFSC code is wrong actually. So that time what happen? The transaction 2 will be failed. Okay, so here already this transaction is done. That means 1000 rupees is debited from my account and the same amount is not credited into A2 account. So this statement is telling if one transaction is failed, then entire transaction should be failed. So here it is failed. That means whatever the previous transaction has happened, that should be also failed. That means this 1000 rupees credit to my account A1. Then only this case will be satisfied. Now see the next point. Consistency. Transactions that break consistency are not allowed and will fail. Every time the data should be consistency in database. Third point is isolation. No transaction has access to any other transaction that is in an intermediate or unfinished state. Suppose the same example I am talking on here. Suppose A1 account, currently it has balance 5000 rupees. Okay, 5000 balance is there on account A1 and one transaction is happening. Suppose 500 rupees, transaction 1. Okay, and I want to do another transaction 1000 rupees to my friend. Okay, here isolation is telling if any transaction is going on the same time, another cannot be used. That means it should not allow the second transaction at T2. Once completed this transaction, then only it should allow. Because what will happen if this data is not deducted A2 and T2 is processed fast? That means it will come 4000 rupees. Okay, 4000 rupees. Or suppose the same time transaction is started. Suppose we will consider both transactions are started at the same time. Okay, same time. So they are taken the balance amount of A1, it's 5000 rupees, and transaction first at T2 is taken 5000 and it is deducted 1000 rupees. Okay, and same time it is also processed. That means it took the balance amount is 5000 only and it deduct the 500 rupees. But here T2 is processed first and it is updated 4000 rupees. Okay, 4000 rupees is updated in my account A1 and you know both transactions are processed at the same time and once it is completed, that means it will deducted from the 5000 rupees. That means 4500 rupees will updated in the same account. What the balance amount will come 4500 rupees because it is completed last. Okay, so data inconsistency will happen. Yeah, due to this reason the isolation concept is key. No transaction has access to any other transaction that is intermediary or unfinished. That means if any transaction is going on that time, the second transaction will not allow. The last point is durability. In case of failure, it is possible to restore the committed transaction. Okay, suppose our database server in one system. Okay, DB server is. I am doing some transaction actually. Okay, and that time my system got disconnected from the database server. Okay, so that time what the transaction is happening, that should be restored. All the transactions should be restored. Now we will discuss about NoSQL base model. Basically available. System does guarantee the availability of data as per CAP theorem. CAP theorem is consistency, availability and partition tolerance theorem. Now we will understand this theorem. Consistency means that node will have same copy of replicated data item visible for various transactions. Availability means that each read or write request of data item will be either be processed successfully or will receive message that operation cannot be completed. Every non-failing node returns response for all the read and write request in reasonable amount of time. Partition tolerance. Partition tolerance means that the system can continue operating even if the network connecting the node has fault that result in two or more partition where the node in each partition can only communicate among each other. That means system continue to function and uphold Its consistency guarantee in faulty of network partition. Now S stands for soft state. Data source does not have to be consistent all the time, but here always consistency is maintained. Eventually consistent, not immediately consistent, but some point data will be consistent. No guarantee about when this will occur. Data will consistent, but it will depend upon the network. So that's why you are calling eventual consistency. So we have understand the difference between NoSQL and SQL. We will meet on another video. Thank you. Please subscribe YouTube channel InfoSyntax. And for more details, you can visit www.infosyntax.com. Bye.